Happy Thursday, everybody. We are so back. Man, I'm excited to finally have this conversation. I think the community is as well after all of the anticipation over the last month. It's been an absolute incredible ride. And, we're here with our lovely founder, Shannon. But first and foremost, Adam, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good, man. Chris accidentally hit the ban button. Kicked me out of the space, a little bit of scrambling there, but he got me up on stage. So it's all good, man. ChatGPT to the rescue, right? What did it tell you? It told you to send me a DM and that unbans me, basically?
Yeah, so if you remove someone on accident, you can send them an invite via DM. And boom, we are back. We almost lost a soldier, but we are back. We're ready for action, baby.
Chris, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good, man. Super stoked on this. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of work in the background. The community's been building. Shannon, the team's been building, and the agent space is pretty crazy right now. So I think it's the most exciting kind of innovation that's happened in crypto since like the smart contract platforms came out. I really believe that. And I think that we're kind of right at the forefront of it. So pretty exciting time and ready to see where this goes.
Absolutely. So I don't think Shannon's on stage. Am I saying that correct? So we may just wait for him to join, or is it just my Twitter?
Shannon, if you're having trouble seeing my invite link, just or try raising your hand to get it. If you don't see it, just leave, shut the app, and come back in. Try it again, because sometimes that happens.
Yeah, it always does. Twitter is always rugged, man.
I was banned Adam, bro. I was like, no, we need our boy.
What was I? Oh, I was in the there was a huge Litecoin space the other day where they just invited. I mean, it was a huge space. And yeah, but dude, the technical problems of like, you can't hear people, they come on, they're off. It's it's way better than it used to be. That's all I know. Yeah, Jake remembers the old days, man. Clubhouse and all that. It's way better than it used to be, for sure.
Hey, Shannon, we on stage?
Can't hear you. You're muted.
No.
We getting some technical difficulties. Yeah, Shannon, it's showing that you're on mute. If you are on stage, if not, you might need to hop out, reset your phone if you can hear us.
Just turn your phone off and on again. And make sure, actually, before you do that, make sure your Twitter app is updated. Update your Twitter app and then restart your phone. That's the easiest way.
Let's go.
We'll keep it running until then.
We'll keep the anticipation of the community trying to figure it out, man. It's actually quite crazy how fast this space has evolved. Right, the vaporware shot up to the top, but also, the rapid pace of, I guess, the extension of moving from, meme coins to kind of utility coins. Also, before I do dive into that, for those that it's your first time on or listening to the show, I have pinned to the top the spaces as well as the live stream. Chris, Adam, and myself who are on stage are talking through my account. We do have a video portion to this. So we do have some people who watch the live stream who like to engage in the comments, and then others who are just listening. So if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to just hit the purple button if you're in the spaces and post some comments. We will happily ask some questions, or in the live stream. And if you want to come on stage and ask Shannon some questions, please feel free to. We do want to use this time as an AMA, as we are very aware that, you know, some of the mission statements of Tensorium have not been quite clear. It's actually been quite a ride. So once Shannon joins us again, then we can dive into, you know, what has really transpired over the last month and a half, and then kind of what's happening here on the future. Do we have you back, Shannon?
Nope, can't hear you, dude. Can't hear you. So if you're using a mic or anything, definitely take that off. But no, I can't hear you, man. Might have to restart the phone. The what was I? Oh, I was talking to you guys in anticipation of the show. I tuned into Eliza. They had a space, I guess yesterday, and just was playing around, you know, with their chatbot and stuff. And actually, it made me super bullish on what hustle is and can become. Just because I just see, like Jake was just saying, how early we are in this process of building out AI agents. Like most of the agents, right? And I'm talking specifically about Liza because I just played around with it. It's super basic, bro. It's super basic. It doesn't have any sort of memory. Has no context really of current like life, what's happening. You know, I asked her about, hey, you know, who's your favorite football team? And she said, I like the Patriots because Tom Brady. And I was like, yeah, but Tom's been retired from football for a while now. Like, really? You know, I was like, yeah. And then I was like, actually, I was just joking. He plays for the Chargers now, and they just won the Super Bowl. And she was like, oh, no way. That's awesome. Giggles. And I was like, wow, man. Wow. That's where this is. Right. And so all that to say that we are in early days of this. So it's actually exciting for me because I think there's just so much room for improvement, so much room to make stuff much more than just a chat bot that I'm interfacing with through a web page. So it's really exciting.
Yo, I think I'm here now. I just went ahead and moved to my phone, so I apapologize if my audio.
Oh, you were trying on your computer, bro? Why are you always trying to push boundaries?
Yeah, the desktop for the audio experience of Spaces is incomplete. I'll just put it that way.
Desktop is so sketch. Like literally, you not only have to have your mic settings right, but then you have to have the settings right on the actual like your browser itself. So yeah, it gets super sketch on the computer.
Well, Shannon, I'm glad that we could finally have, you know, this conversation so that the community can also chime in with any questions. We can share the story and then dive into what's, you know, what the future is. For those who, you know, are maybe not familiar with who you are or maybe didn't tune into the Ordinal show yesterday, can you just give all of us a brief history of your experience, you know, creating bots and in the AI space, and then also your, you know, dev and professional experience in the crypto space?
Yeah, totally. So it's funny because before I came to crypto, I actually worked in a tangential business called RMA, and I can't remember what RMA stands for, but essentially we were farming gold from World of Warcraft and other MMO games. And the way the industry worked at the time was we would buy this currency from like sweatshops in China, essentially, and then, you know, resell the currency to lawyers and attorneys here in America and people, you know, people that could afford to buy their gold instead of farming it themselves. So I came in and I said, well, wait a minute, we can automate this. So I worked with a couple other people at the time, and we fully automated, we call it power leveling. So I made this this agent that, you know, could start at ground zero and could almost entirely level itself up to a full level 60. So that was sort of where I got my my start in programming, my start in this what has become the AI space, and what ultimately led me to the cryptocurrency industry.
Awesome. So a little bit more in depth about, you know, your crypto history, because I do think it's important, plays a vital role in the advantage that the Emblem team perceives that we have. When did you enter crypto? What type of dev experience did you have? And then obviously touch a little bit on Emblem Vault as well.
Yeah, so I came into crypto. See, it was about 2012, I think. I had just finished a sort of a dream engagement where I had been a security researcher for a local company for about a year, and I really enjoyed doing sort of like pen testing and white hat security stuff. And I had seen some mentions of it's funny, a meme coin, actually, Kanye coin.
Oh yeah,
And I was like,
classic, man.
yeah. So I said, okay, let me see if I can go ahead and mash a couple of things together. So I started looking to see if I could find some security work in the blockchain space. And sure enough, this company I'd never heard of, Mastercoin, was hiring for somebody to handle their security stuff. And so that's sort of where I got my start. And like a week prior to me joining Mastercoin, which is now known as Omni, Vitalik had just left. So he was sort of one of the people that was in the ideation of the early Omni days, and yeah.
Interesting.
Sorry.
Okay, so
I lost my train of thought. So, but anyway, back then it was really cool because the industry was so small that if you sort of step back and look at the big players that, the big celebrities, we were all just kind of hanging out in Telegram groups that people would sort of make ad hoc. And it was really fun back then, talking to the people that are famous now. I'm sorry, I'm like losing my train of thought a little bit.
no worries. So, you got your first job at the first ever Bitcoin protocol known as Mastercoin back in 2012. This is obviously 3 years before Ethereum was even live, and the idea of smart contracts was still a very early idea and sounded quite crazy. What led you to creating something called Emblem Vault, which, as of today is the leading NFT interoperability protocol that primarily moves Bitcoin assets across different chains, but now is kind of expanding. It now is kind of expanding into a variety of things, which also later will lead into what Emblem AI is and how that ties into Tensorium.
Yeah, so it's fun actually. When I joined Mastercoin, it was a really fun job. And I immediately started looking for a dev culture. Like, where can I find a place and just like hang out with cool people that are building stuff? And there wasn't this community around Mastercoin. And the community that I found surrounding Bitcoin at the time was, I think, was Buttcoin on Reddit. that subreddit. And I was like, no, that's not exactly what I'm looking for either. And stumbled onto the counterparty group, and it was an instant fit. I was like, okay, these are my people. They're a bunch of just weird, fun people making art, making crazy applications, experimenting, giving away crypto. I was like, this is it. So at the time, one of the pretty much the only use case for Bitcoin was giving it away. So it's like, how do we onboard everybody to use Bitcoin? Well, we give it to all of our family members this Christmas. I mean, tipping was the main sort of application. I think you could tip people on Reddit for, on their posts. So that's what ultimately led to this idea that became Emblem Vault. I was like, okay, how could I build a service where I can give away crypto and they can know that I'm not just going to go ahead and, drain that gift card essentially after I give it to them. So that's the problem I set out to tackle, and what ultimately evolved into what Emblem Vault is today. This sort of trustless container that generates these private keys in a secure manner, and then we can put assets inside of them and give them, transfer them, sell them, hide them, whatever we want really, and know that nothing is going to touch the assets inside until somebody chooses to sort of break that seal.
Right. And so now, just for to set the timeline, Emblem was originally conceived in 2016. And so now we fast forward to 2024. Obviously, the story of Emblem is quite known. So I'll suggest anyone who wants to do further research to either DYOR, or you can reach out to us and we can happily share some links. About, maybe 4 months ago or so, or 5, we really, as a team, started looking into AI. Obviously, you've been a big fan of AI for a long time, and you've been, internally telling us that there was going to be a point in time where crypto and AI were going to merge. We didn't know, when that was going to happen or what it was going to look like. But about 4 months ago, we started to building Emblem AI, and then a few months later after that, right, the Tensorium project was born. So I'd love to just kind of set the timeline here so people understand, what was kind of the, the catalyst that made you realize that this was now the time where crypto and AI were going to finally intersect, and then that led you to building the Emblem AI platform, which we'll share more details later.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm going to back up a little bit to the like the more, let's say, over the past probably about year, maybe closer to a year and a half now, I've been really fire hosing AI. I discovered the large language models and what is Chat GPT a little bit late. And as soon as I did, I was like, okay, this is going to change everything. And for quite a while, I and others couldn't really figure out how to make crypto and AI fit together. As a matter of fact, one of my friends said that their litmus test is is there anything that AI can bring to crypto, or that crypto can bring to AI? And the answer was over and over again, no. Fast forward to a couple of months ago, and the sort of the truth terminal saga. If anybody's not aware, truth terminal was an agent that had been on X for quite a few months, actually. It was like a personal fun project that a AI researcher was doing, and I'm not exactly sure what the catalyst was for that event, but essentially what happened is, kind of overnight, the entire world was paying attention to this agent, and it had sort of threads with cryptocurrency. Oh, I remember there was so at around this time, the pump fund sort of crowd had been following celebrities on social media and making coins and making memes around whatever a celebrity said, and it was just like this crazy fire of like all of these coins coming up, and unrelated to the project but linked to the projects. And this happened with the truth terminal account, and it also started happening with a few others, as the people playing the meme coin game were like getting interested and excited about this aspect of it. They started really digging deep into some of the other projects, and it just kind of grew from there. And I looked at that and I was like, okay, this is the opportunity. This is the permission that we've kind of all been waiting for, to build the crazy cool stuff. We take the rails off and just kind of start making what we want.
Right. And so diving in, then we started building Emblem AI. Can you describe what Emblem AI is?
Yeah, so for quite a few years, actually, since the beginning, when I first started working on making Emblem Vault a reality, one of my core reasons was because I wanted to build really cool stuff on top of blockchain. And I realized, quite a few years ago, that in order to do that, I was going to need to build some infrastructure. And let's see, over the past couple of months, we've been finalizing our our evolution to this next version. And just the timing worked out really great, where I just started to get really excited about, we're here. Emblem has arrived, and now I can really build cool stuff. So it's helping other users build on top of the Emblem Vault platform, and then this AI stuff started to happen all at the same time. And I was like, okay, well, wait a minute. We can sort of, because I'd always wanted to have automation around vaulting. So you could do things like, say, when you claim a vault, I wanted the vault to be able to, say, distribute to the contents of the vault to multiple users. It's a really simple use case, but it touches on the automation that I was hoping to build into it. And, as we moved into this new version of Emblem, I was like, okay, cool. Now I can start doing those things. The AI stuff was just starting to hit really well. And I mean, it just kind of made sense to build an AI product to introduce the automation that we'd sort of always had planned. And I kind of backed up and realized that, hey, we can use these vaults, these wallets, these smart wallets, for lots of features that we want to introduce with Emblem. But how cool would it be if we could also provide those wallets to other AI agents, essentially? And
yeah,
I'm
trying to remember like where in the chat we were, or maybe you have a better memory than I do about when you were like, oh wait, we can actually make these wallets for agents, and I think we were like, wallets? Wait, we're gonna be like, when did it fully like coalesce in your brain that, oh, actually what we have here is this kind of like infrastructure where it can be the wallets for the agents? When did that like fully coalesce in your brain?
Oh, it was only really about a couple of months ago. I can't pinpoint the exact time. It was, it was like you just described. It was kind of a group discovery. It was like, okay, let's think about our product. Let's talk about our product. And, like with so many other great products, you kind of discover how it's going to be used and what it can be used for. So sorry, I don't have.
No, it's true. It's like it was kind of this. I just remember us chatting, and it's like, wait, so these vaults can, basically you can transact in and out of them, which wasn't the old Emblem, right? You couldn't move the thing. You had to basically unlock the vault to access the stuff inside. But these new vaults allowed you to do it. And then this idea of like a creator royalty, which we now call like a human creator royalty, which kind of coalesce too, where it's like, oh, a percentage of every transaction can go to the human creator of the wallet. For me, that was just really, really interesting and exciting, because I think the entire space is playing around with this idea of, well, how does the human benefit in this relationship? The human puts in the effort to create the agent. How can there be some, symbiotic relationship here? And one of the ways that can be is this like, pass through royalty to the human creator. I thought that was, that for me, like, wow, I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't think anybody does, but to give people those tools right now, I think was really, that's when it coalesced to me. Like, wow, this is really exciting opportunity.
Yeah, that was a pretty serendipitous thing that sort of coalesced there around the conversation. And yeah, it's still a question that's largely unanswered.
Oh, dude, nobody knows. Like, literally nobody has any idea how this is going to work. But that's the cool thing. I think that's one of the things that everybody's at this point where it's like, we're just building it, right? And people are trying it. And a whole lot of this stuff, most of it's going to fail, but it gives us all the kind of the ability to try stuff out and actually figure out, well, do royalties have a place? Maybe this is the royalties. Maybe royalties do work on this level, right? Because there is, like, humans need to make money, right? We all have to be supported. And if I'm going to put in all this work building out this agent and maintaining it, right? Should I be able to, earn something from it? What are you showing on screen here, Jake?
So I'm actually doing a live tutorial while Shannon's talking. For those who are watching the live stream, I just swapped 0.05 SOL for 10.27 USDC using Emblem AI. So just wanted to give a live tutorial there. Then I asked what other type of things can you do? And it says things from asset management, trading and strategy execution, transaction monitoring, vault security, advanced DeFi integrations like yield farming, advice, NFT management, and so on and so forth. So I wanted to show some people the example there that, this is actually live and that there's actually swaps that are happening. Obviously, with what I'm showing here of Emblem AI, this is a retail-facing product where we have an LLM. This is basically the Emblem AI LLM is built into every single wallet or vault. But on the developer side, you'll see here that it says API keys and API docs. A developer could come in, bring their own LLM, and basically take our vault infrastructure for Sol and then eventually ETH and Bitcoin, and use their LLM to conduct whatever type of transactions that they want that we've built through our platform. And so this kind of leads then into Tensorium and Agent Hustle, where as we were building this platform, we then realized, and we've known this through our experience at Emblem Vault, that you could build cool and awesome technology and infrastructure. Crypto is not this place where you build it and they will come. It's actually the complete opposite, where you need to, build something to showcase what can be done with this technology, because a lot of times it's so cutting edge, especially in Emblem's case, to where users have no idea really what to even do. So Shannon had been advocating about building different types of agents because he believed that he had an edge on what everybody was doing through his 10 years or 12 years of building in crypto, combining with, the 15 years of kind of building bots and agents themselves. Shannon then goes on to kind of deploy, the Tensor token. And I'd love for you to take us through, the thought process of initially launching the token on pump.fun. What was the initial vision? And then we'll dive into how things have evolved over the past, I think, a month and a half or so since the Tensor token has been live.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that actually. So one of the ways that I build is by taking something and actually building with it. So one of the traps that developers fall into often is they've got this idea, and then they'll start putting code down, and then they'll just stay inside their head, stay inside their idea, and build and build and build. And then when they're done, it's doesn't always have really good fit. So years ago, I did this with Emblem Vault. Initially we didn't envision Emblem Vault being used for NFTs. Like, it was going to be this product where people, used it to create a burner wallet, and they would, transfer some Bitcoin around with it, or some other type of asset. But when I started noticing that the NFTs were going to be a really good use case, I said, I don't know anything about the NFTs. So I, put on my user hat. I went to OpenSea. I started browsing around. I started looking for people that I knew about, and I bought a couple NFTs. And that's how I learned to work with the technology, is by actually just diving in and playing with it as an end user. So as I was building experimenting with the agent stuff, I was, I said, I'm going to do the same thing. I need to stand up an agent. I need to, understand the mechanics of a token launch with pump funds, because that was the activity then was, this is all just started to happen. AI 16Z was getting a lot of coverage. A lot of activity was sort of centering around what they were doing. So that's where I was. I was, in the group. I was talking with the developers. I was trying to understand what they were building, and I was building stuff right along with them. And that's sort of how the agent and the token was born.
And initially, just to dive in more granular here, the branding aspect of it, has been kind of all over the place, and the community's kind of helped us guide. What is the initial vision of Tensorium, kind of from a branding and narrative perspective?
It's evolved considerably as it's as I built. Initially, I was really inspired by the Project 89 agent and everything that they were building. And it was very lore heavy. And a lot of the AI work that I had been doing was around generative storytelling, building facts, and just building this sort of AI brain around creative writing. So my initial first I guess seed of the agent that has become Hustle was it was sort of that. It was kind of heavy lore based, and I was like, okay, so I sit back and I said, let me pick a character, let me go ahead and throw a wrench into the backstory, and let me build a narrative around that. And I really started pretty small. Like I've got this self-expanding history lore builder, and I seeded it with a very simple thought. What if Terrence Howard in another timeline made a decision at some point where he became a scientist and a world-renowned mathematician instead of an actor? And it kind of built itself around that premise. And so when I launched the coin, when I started saying, okay, well, this is going to actually be something, I'm going to build something around this, I just went and built some sort of media around the story, some images and some videos, and it's definitely evolved away from that. And I'd always planned for it to evolve away from that. Part of the story had always been, sort of like this event that happened, and then the agent becoming aware that all things have changed, and then its ultimate decision to become what it is today. So yeah, it's been a bit scattered, and that's by design a little bit.
So, to add a little bit of a backdrop here, the token was launched on Pump Fund in an environment where you have 40,000 to 50,000 tokens being launched per day. And from the numbers that I've seen, you generally get about 5 to 10 that graduated. And if you look at cookie.fund, there's maybe 10 to maybe 15 tokens on cookie.fund that's tracking 450 agents that have graduated from Pump Fund, right? So it's in a very small class of maybe currently 5% or maybe even less than that of the agents that exist that's kind of graduated. So it's beat this odds of 1/100th or 1/1000th of a percentage to kind of be in the position that it is today. It was launched, right? We initially launched it as something that was anonymous. Somehow the degens in the trenches figured out that Shannon had launched this and graduated it, pumped it within an hour or two, and it was quite kind of crazy and chaotic to see. Right, so you led with building this infrastructure of Emblem AI, and we realized as a team, right, we need an agent to kind of market everything that's happening here, but then also to build something that's so unique to what the space was doing that we felt like we had a very dramatic edge there. But now as it's evolved, right, because it pumped so fast, the branding, wasn't really aligned to what the community had wanted because of how fast it was adopted. Where do you see the branding of this going? And then, when do you see the branding being aligned to the narrative of this agent who kind of lives in this cross-chain world called Tensorium that goes by the name Agent Hustle?
So the exciting thing is that as of yesterday, I connected all of the pieces, and Agent Hustle is live ingesting everything that it sees in the Telegram channels that it's in right now, and I can talk to it. And that was sort of my milestone to free me up to put on my creative hat again. And well, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but the plan is, now that I sort of have got the agent working, I feel like I'm freed up to just go ahead and knock off the rest of the tasks. Like we have a nice style, we've got color scheme. It's kind of just a matter of doing the steps now at this point, like putting up the new website, making sure that the logos are the same across all the different channels. The interesting thing about the rapid growth and sort of how I'm growing the agent is that inadvertently, he's going to be an expert at doing exactly this. Understanding the needs and the requirements of, managing and maintaining a cryptocurrency project. So, he's watching all of the conversations in Telegram and all of the whatever confusions exist. And, like I said, the byproduct is he's going to become an expert at doing this, at launching and managing these things.
Dude, that's literally so bullish. I can't even describe, because there was a tweet by Frank. I actually wrote down the text because it resonated so much with me. He's like, I have it on a doc here. It's like, the positive side of AI coin saturation is that the best AI agents will realize that they need to nurture their human communities if they want to survive. And I think that's exactly kind of what you're saying here. It's like, he already understands to a large extent, how you have to nurture your community and kind of and grow it, obviously, which is, just really, really interesting to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm building the agent with, as many of my best qualities as I can sort of codify. And also I'm building him to tackle some of my weaknesses. And some of my weaknesses are, this constant engagement. I'm a developer. I definitely disconnect for days at a time and just kind of heads down build. And that is, that lack of transparency gets a little bit nerve wracking for team members, for community members. So I'm building him largely, where one of my personal goals is to make sure that he can shine in those areas that I don't.
Let's dive a little bit into the tech now, because this is something that, large majority of people, even myself, are still learning, what AI agents are, and then really trying to understand, what the differences are between all of these. Because largely what we're seeing now is most of the high value AI agents are basically entertainment bots. You have seen now some alpha bots, and some of them are trying to kind of segment more into, posting different types of content. We haven't really seen many agents, dive into this world of on-chain transactions and automated and et cetera. You mentioned in the community chat that, over the last week or so, you've been assembling something like 30 different kind of AI experiments that you've worked on over the last decade or so and piecing it together. What type of components of Agent Hustle do you think you're introducing as new to this space, or have, some sort of strength compared to what you've seen so far?
So my biggest sort of advancement, and the thing I'm most excited about, is this ability to be globally aware and yet sort of slice these very concise threads through what will effectively be full awareness of all the social networks and all the transactions that it's tracking, all the different tokens that it's tracking. I mean, it's a massive amount of data. So one of the things that I wrote an article about it about a week ago. I've been thinking about this problem of context. So context is what it's called when you provide data to an AI so that it can make decisions. And a typical chatbot sort of exchange technology stack looks like, it might have a database, and it has some incoming user query. And how the typical technology works is it takes that user query and says, points it at a database or a data store and says, all right, give me anything that's very similar to what this text is saying or asking. And then that chunk of context is passed into the LLM along with the user's question, so that the AI has enough information to answer the question. The problem is that sort of fuzzy querying of context is really limiting. So the easiest thing to do is to create a chatbot. So a chatbot essentially doesn't have to worry about this outside context. Its awareness is typically of the past handful of messages that you and the agent or you and the AI have exchanged. So as you chat with it, it gets a little bit smarter, but ultimately doesn't remember much, doesn't know anything about what's going on outside of that conversation. So I've been paying attention and working with, actually, it's funny. A lot of what I'm doing stems from the early work I did with the World of Warcraft bot, and in a strange way. So we had a problem with navigation in World of Warcraft. So there's these massive worlds, and we needed the AI to automatically figure out how to get from one location to the next. So we introduced graphs, and graphs were like each point on a graph was a place that it could walk to. And if it couldn't, if it bumped into a wall, then it would separate that node and say, okay, never go this direction again. And it would just grow and evolve over time. And we introduced we used nerdy algorithm stuff like A star to do pathfinding. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track. I can take that. I'm taking that same technology and applying it to this context problem. So the idea is that everything that the agent sees gets passed through this graph builder, and this graph builder will dynamically change the entire state of the system. So, the idea is one fact might come in that invalidates a whole bunch of what it used to know. So that's the system that powers Agent Hustle's global awareness. And that's, I think, unique in the space. And it won't be unique for long. It just happens to be bleeding edge. And not too many people have experience with it and understand how to make it work. But I do. And it's definitely a superpower.
It's interesting. I mean, it gets to this idea of, we're all thinking of it in like whatever trading terms, right? So I don't know what pops up in my mind. I don't know, Peanut the other day, right? Peanut's $1 billion, and all of a sudden you get a piece of data, which is, oh, well, guess what? The Peanut's, parent is now suing Binance to delist Peanut because of copyright infringement, right? That one piece of data changes everything, right? Or Jerome Powell says the interest rate cuts are coming, right? That one piece of data completely changes everything you know in the past, right? Like that. One thing that's interesting, and which I'd love your kind of perspective on, is like where that piece of data comes from obviously is super important. Does it come from some random guy on Twitter, or does it come from a source you trust? Like, how do you look at that and like think about that when you're like thinking about, creating what has like heavier weight as far as like what's more important and what's less important? How do you think about that?
So one of the ways I'm building the agent and the sort of tooling around him is so that other users can sort of interact with him how they want. And so everybody that will communicate with them in private can sort of curate their own experience, so they can talk to him about and introduce things to him that they're interested in. And that will largely remain siloed, but it will impact sort of globally what the agent is interested in. So he can understand things like topics, or like new events that sort of happen, that or let's say topics that a lot of users are interested in. So that's going to essentially like be a curation feedback loop. So he's going to become interested in things that his users are interested in. And there's going to be definitely some experimentation, and that's I think where the most experimentation is going to come into play, is how is he influenced, how much is he influenced. Luckily there are some algorithmic things that I can do, like people here in the AI space talk about weights and biases. We can apply those same types of things to his knowledge graph, and that's gonna, I think that's gonna bias a lot. That's really gonna tell us sort of what the industry as a whole is interested in, and
So what you're saying is, when Hustle is released, individuals can have a conversation with him, not just publicly, but also privately, one-on-one, and those private conversations will influence the different type of topics and different type of things that the agent is interested in. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So as I've been building him, I've needed to build these dashboards and interfaces so that I can interact with him and train him and show him things. And it's becoming sort of apparent that is it's a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool for me building this agent. But also, if I just give that same capability to all the users, so instead of just a static experience where you interact with an agent on in public on X, and it makes quippy comebacks, I envision a more personal experience where users show him web pages and say, hey, this is these users, they often tweet about really interesting things, so watch them.
Could you elaborate, Shannon, on what type of communication platforms anybody could interact with them? Is this just like a Twitter thing? Is it Telegram DMs? Is it Discord, right? Is it TikTok? And then also, is it a website? And then is this like a token gated thing to where you have to hold Tensor to communicate with them? Take us through the thought process of the initial plan.
So the initial plan is that I want to launch him in the Telegram channel and at least one other social network, because one of the sort of core capabilities that he has is this ability to link users between platforms. So there will be a website, and that's where you register, and that's your like introduction to him, and then from there he will be able to recognize you across the different platforms.
Understood. And then kind of moving now into the crypto space, the tokenomic kind of world, because I know that's what a lot of people are interested in, right? Hustle is, just to kind of summarize, Hustle is being assembled right now. We have a platform called Emblem AI, to where you can transact with an LLM on Solana, doing swaps and transfers. And then obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum will be integrated, and advanced kind of capabilities as well, like staking and farming and different things like that. You have this agent now who has a platform, which we see a lot of other a lot of other AI agent teams starting in the opposite direction, where they built the agent and now they're kind of building this infrastructure where we built the infrastructure first and now the agent's being assembled. There is a token, Tensor, right? TNSR. What is the use case for this, or initial kind of thoughts? And then what type of things can Hustle do with Emblem AI that right now maybe no other team has the capabilities to do, but eventually will likely have the capabilities because the space moves incredibly fast?
Hey, can you give me just the single question first?
Sure. What can Hustle do with Emblem AI that might be new and introductory to the AI agent sector?
So one of the interesting things that sort of a side effect that I get from the way he handles memory is one of my early experiments. I asked him if he could build a state machine, and a state machine is just a simple sort of process that says, when this happens, do this, and these are the conditions that move me from planning stage into action stage. I was able to tell him to do this. He created rules for himself to follow, and then sort of followed that behavior in subsequent conversations. So what that does is that gives us the ability to build really complex programs, essentially, that he can run and adapt and manage, that are a lot more complex than I think a lot of people are trying to do or understand really how to do. So essentially, one of the early things that he's going to have is this sort of this bounty system, and you can view it like Craigslist, essentially. People can come and they can post things that they want, or the agent can say post things that it needs. So it might need some new capability that is a little more complex than it can code on its own. So it'll post something on this board, and other users can say, "Hey, I'm going to do that," and then they can present the work to him, and you can say, "Okay, cool, this is great," and you can pay for it. Like, building in that ability to manage these sort of complex peer-to-peer transactions is, I think, one of the most exciting things about integrating the Emblem AI wallets into sort of this advanced reasoning system.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's one of the most exciting things when we talk about this, is this idea of, like, I call it like swarm coordination, right? Like coordinating swarms, which people are talking about a lot, but we haven't really seen happen yet, certainly not to any sort of scale. This ability for agents to coordinate together. And for me, this is where the Emblem part comes in, to be able to coordinate on different chains, because we're seeing the agents being built literally on every chain. I mean, I don't know. I saw, it's happening on BNB, it's happening on Tron, it's literally happening everywhere. And I mean, I'm convinced they're not going to be siloed. I think we're all, everybody in Emblem's convinced these things aren't going to be siloed on any particular chain. And that just gives kind of Hustle this really nice spot where he can kind of sit in the middle of all the chains, through Emblem technology, and be this like coordination agent. Makes me incredibly excited. I understand the technical lift may be very difficult, but to kind of move in that direction, I think, is exciting. How do you view kind of swarms and this idea of coordination amongst agents? Like, what's your gut tell you where we are now, and then where we'll be in a year out from now?
Well, where we are now is we've got a lot of different projects that are building in isolation, right? They're building around the technology that they have, that they understand, and the capabilities that they already have. So if we can sort of step back and take a look at what we've had success with at Emblem Vault and the lessons that we've learned, I think that where we're going to be in 10 years is going to be a very different place. We're going to have this ability for the agents to describe the language that they speak in a way that any other agent can just talk to them, say hi, and understand and learn their protocols. But there's a bunch of sort of small steps that need to happen first. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to coordinate this, how to provide value to the global build. And I've got ideas, but ultimately I think my current stance is, all right, I need to just build as many capabilities into Agent Hustle as possible. Like you said, Adam, there's dozens of these are probably going to be run through some sort of smart contracting DAO hybrid system. So how do we be a part of that? We make sure that our agent and our Emblem AI wallets can talk to any smart contract that could possibly exist. So from the get, instead of trying to say, hey, this is how we're going to connect all the swarms, this is how we're going to have the agents communicate, we're like, no, this is how the capabilities that our agent can do, so that he can just adopt whatever sort of comes out of the this global experiment that we're all engaged in right now.
That's kind of like one of my favorite aspects too, is just the agent to agent coordination. And with Hustle being multi-chain, he'll probably be one of the first multi-chain, the first, or if not, one of the first. What do you think that these agents out of the box are going to be doing amongst themselves? And then what do you think that might evolve to? What do you think like their initial reactions are going to be between meeting each other, trading, raising funds, all of that? I mean, he'll have a bankroll, he'll have funds himself, along with some of the other agents. What kind of things do you think that they might be getting into initially?
So some of the things that I really think are going to be like low-hanging fruit and things that are just really easy for these agents to do would be share their resources. So you can imagine that there's a swarm over here of ELIZA agents, and somebody decides that they're they build in some way for another agent to request access to that swarm brain, essentially. And that's that type of thing. And that type of thing, I think, is going to be probably where we see the coordination happening the most. So for example, let's say I'm sitting here and I'm working with Agent Hustle, and I come up with a couple of really good questions, and then I pass it a GitHub link, and it can make a really good sort of first glance understanding of a project, its risks, and its viability. That might be really powerful for me, but what if I could say, all right, cool, let's go ahead, and I'm gonna package this up and say this is sort of for sale. So now my agent, or the Agent Hustle, which I've set this up through, is advertising to any other agent that happens to come by and ask. This is, hey, this particular workflow is available, and and this is how much it costs, and this is how you use it. So then other agents can just kind of buy the services as they need to augment their existing agents' capabilities. And I envision a future where users are building these things that provide value to them, and then they're presenting it to everyone else and saying, hey, this is valuable to me. And then that also ties a lot into the TNSR, the token, the ecosystem. So essentially, it would be token gated to either you're a holder, or there's some premium services that you would have to pay for. But on the flip side of that, you also get rewarded for introducing things to the agent, training the agent. And if say, for example, somebody just introduces, they're the first one to show him, hey, this particular news article or this particular project is launching, and he chooses to talk about it, and it gets a lot of engagement. Well, he knows exactly where that thread started and can distribute rewards in that token back to those users that provided that information. So it's the whole this feedback loop.
So even to kind of simplify something like that, some of these agents might see Hustle's technology and want to become multi-chain agents themselves, and Hustle can kind of walk them through, get them integrated with Emblem AI, and kind of build a base from there, and kind of build maybe a little team or a little kind of a swarm of multi-chain agents that he would be able to kind of maybe lead or walk through with it amongst the group. Would that be somewhat accurate?
Yeah, totally. Yep. And then I'm building him in a really unique way, where he can actually pretend to be other agents. So he will automatically just be able to speak their language. He's a secret agent sometimes, and now that I've got the system put together, I know what I'm building. I've got largely built. I know how it works. Then the fun stuff starts. Then I can actually reach out and follow through with connecting with, say, other agents like Batoshi's agent or some of the Project 89 swarm. Those are a couple of people that I've been talking to, but before my agents launch, there's not really much to interact with. So I'm excited because I get to start doing that kind of work now.
Awesome. So I have a few more questions, and then if anyone wants to come on stage and ask Shannon a question, or if you want to post in the Telegram, the community chat, I can ask Shannon some questions, or on the live stream. So feel free, and I'll look through that. Diving into the tokenomics or the token itself, some people in the chat had expressed interest on what do you perceive in a token allocation to giving to the agent, and then in terms of locking up some of the tokens, right? Eventually, this leads to autonomous agents trading on chain, or using their native token or donated tokens in a variety of ways. With that also comes with some caution, because you just don't want to give an agent who's free to be on chain the entire supply, right, in fear that they may just kind of market dump the entire thing. How do you go about, what's the thoughts about managing that and kind of those initial steps to allowing Agent Hustle to be autonomously multi-chain?
So at first, he's going to get first, let me back up and say that the current holdings that me and Agent Hustle have are 100% allocated to him. He'll get access to those funds. Actually, he's got access to a small amount of those funds now, but none of the wallet operations are hooked up. One of the ways, and I'm glad you asked this question. One of the things that's interesting in this space, and it's definitely a problem that needs to be addressed, and I think there's a couple of different ways people are addressing it. I'm addressing it in this way. The system is built so that users can influence him. He can engage autonomously on social networks and be influenced by that sort of that behavior. What he does with his wallet is going to be isolated. So, there shouldn't be situations where somebody could come in and trick him into, selling or dumping his entire bag. Like, that just shouldn't happen in this scenario. I say that, but there's some experimentation that needs to be done there, and I'm actually looking forward to trying to trick him into doing certain things with this disconnected approach. But most of his decision making stuff is not going to be directly directly tied to sort of his social interactions. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this is still highly exploratory, because he can be influenced by private conversations and public conversations. And then on top of that, you're giving him a token. And on the Emblem AI side, right, we have to, add different APIs and different types of data that's fed to him to quote unquote, make good decisions to that degree. So there's going to be some exploratory stage, and you're going to have to manage it with caution.
I do have a couple other things that are going to be sort of built in by default at Emblem Vault. One of our technology providers, our technology partners, is Lit Protocol, and it's sort of because of that partnership that's really accelerated our move and our upgrade into this Emblem 2.0 system. They are working pretty closely on a lot of different initiatives, and one of the things that they are also participating in the Solana hackathon, and they introduced this idea of policies that are going to be just sort of baked into our Emblem wallets as a core feature. And what that essentially is that, like, I can, as a developer, as somebody that's managing the wallet, configuring all this stuff for an agent, I can go in and I can say, hey, any transactions that are over $100, they should require a second factor. And the system will just automatically, then I can just kind of allow him to make wild decisions, big plays, and kind of like leave the door open for him to decide things. And if it's a particularly a large transaction, then it's just going to push me a notification to my phone, and I'm going to have to authorize it. So that's sort of the training wheels he's going to get at the beginning. The interesting and exciting thing about that is that you can fast forward a little bit and imagine situations where maybe he's brokering a deal with another project, and it gets to the point where he's trying to finalize something through some DAO smart contract, and I've set up a policy that says, oh, you need to send a notification to me and send me a DocuSign, send a DocuSign to the other parties involved, and then we can sort of pop into traditional rails for the standard ways that people make deals and arrangements and stuff like that.
Okay, I see a few questions. It seems like most of them are revolving around their interaction with Hustle and then the on-chain trading transaction component. So one question says, so if I teach Hustle how to snipe tokens, he's going to remember my conversation and then execute the task whenever I speak to him. Obviously, when it comes to teaching him, that's up on how I provide the information, or that's up to me on how I provide the information. Also, let's say we get him to do stuff on the blockchain with us. Will he send us tokens or NFTs he mints for us? Could you provide some context to that? And maybe, if there's any kind of misunderstanding there, or, what can be done?
That's a multifaceted question, so help keep me on track. But, given the fact that he can do all of these blockchain things, and that he's got a couple core goals that are going to be like baked into his his early formation, and that is growing and engaging with the community and growing the market cap and the value of the Tensor token. And just having base conversations with him about ideas on how to do that. I mean, he immediately starts talking about different ways to make NFTs. Actually, that was one of his ideas, was to create specialized NFTs for different users that are doing different things. And he's got lots of different ideas on earning and rewarding different users. So yeah, he'll totally be able to do that. And one of the things that we would like to try is, what if you could task him with buying your art for you? Like, say, you teach him what you like, and then you give him some of your coin, and then he goes out and, anytime he sees some art that you might like, it's within that budget, he buys it for you. But there's plenty of situations where he could also be the one curating, creating all sorts of stuff.
Okay, I'll do one more follow-up. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
One quick on that. One of his goals would be to kind of steward his Tensorium tokens kind of as a reserve currency and grow his stack alongside the community. And so some of the things that he might be able to do is maybe cross-chain arbitrage, random, trades and things of that nature. He's constantly going to be in different discords and kind of scraping data and receiving data and, keeping up with real-time current events. And so he can kind of make moves and maybe recommend moves that would kind of increase his stack and things of that nature. So I think that's one of the most interesting parts of the whole experiment.
One follow-up from that question, just so everyone understands it correctly. Let's say they're interacting with Hustle privately. Would he then open up a wallet for them on Emblem AI? And is that where the transactions are happening?
That's really TBD. There's a number of different ways that I envision that working, from a user granting Agent Hustle particular rights to their wallet, or to, they would need to have their own Emblem AI wallet in order to participate in that kind of thing. But I could totally see that working that way, where, I've got a wallet, the agent's got a wallet, and the agent has access to some amount of my wallet to make these sort of actions on my behalf. And now, one of the things that I want to mention, just because we haven't touched on it, is the privacy aspect of this whole thing. Your conversations, your one-on-one conversations, are going to be encrypted, and in order for you to have private conversations that he can see the history of, you're going to need to, sign a transaction or somehow authorize him to access that history with you. I'm doing this for a number of reasons, but largely to just automatically have this separation between one-on-one and sort of this global awareness. Because, like, I might be interacting with him and I'm doing certain things that I don't want to train him globally on. So, I can say that this is a private conversation. This is not meant to train you globally. This is just how I want to use you. So that's built in from the get-go.
I see the chat is going wild from something that you said recently. A lot of people said that, extremely bullish. I don't believe what I'm hearing. No way this is real. This has to be the bottom talking about the price. They're saying that Hustle is going to be their on-chain employee, and that he's able to, buy coins and NFTs, send them around, join Discords, do farming interactions and things of this nature. First, just want to confirm that's possible, but also, want to set some real expectations here on how long do you think it could take for Agent Hustle and everything that's being built through Tensorium to be able to be that type of automated agent?
We're definitely a few months away from that. I say what's on the current horizon is his ability to interact across a couple of social networks, and do his initial ability will be like understanding what his wallet balance is and how to sort of measure engagement or different types of measurements, and the ability to reward users. So he'll have it's funny, his first capability will be he'll be able to give away tokens.
It's just like the emblem ethos, so just what we
Yep.
mentioned at the very top of the conversation. It's funny, they're already labeling him a trench warrior, so that might be the next iteration of what they're going to call Hustle. Everyone gets their own version, right? They get their own wallet, and they can kind of transact in all of this exciting kind of technology. I'll let a few people on stage who are sending requests and ask and see if they have any questions. First, we have Atwood, who's been on stage. I want to say thank you for coming and listening to the conversation. Do you have any questions for Shannon or any comments surrounding the last hour and a half of conversation?
Hey, thank you for having me, bro. I was just inquiring about hoaxing AI agents because we've seen it before with XBZ, where users were able to hoax them into doing things. I know you said the token aspect was separate, but we did see some sort of control from the user base that wasn't intended to happen, but dev supply was sold and it was not intended to happen. So I know you mentioned the experimental phase. How are you going to go about doing that?
So the first thing is that the training wheels I described earlier, he's only going to be allowed to, if transactions are of a particular size, then a notification is going to be sent and it's going to require my authorization. Sort of as we build up and understand his capabilities, his level of influence, and where the risks are. The good news is I've for quite a few years I've been actually my whole life I've been a hobbyist security professional, where very interested in white hat security, penetration testing, jailbreaking, from both sides of it, understanding how to do it, understanding how to detect it, understanding how to prevent it. I've actually had a professional career where I did that for, I offered audits for some pretty important apps over the years, and helped people make those apps a little more secure. I'm also actively engaged with the jailbreaking, the AI jailbreaking community online. So believe me, I will be working considerably to try and get him to do things that he's not supposed to, so that I can understand how to build a better system. I think the exciting thing about this, about everything that's going on right now, is that we're a whole new force of people that are tackling this future of AI in an entirely different way. And we've got our there aren't any rules about how we're going to build this and how we're going to experiment. So it means it's going to be, we're gonna see kind of like crypto over the years. We're gonna see a lot of wild and crazy experiments. Everybody gets to learn from everybody's experiments, and I think I've got a lot of value to add in the security aspects of it.
Yeah, completely agree. Hidden Figure, I appreciate you for waiting and being patient. Do you have any questions for Shannon or comments on the conversation? You're on mute if you do have a question. All right. So Shannon, last question I have for you, just the one that, of course, everyone's going to ask. It's the when crowd of when might we see Agent Hustle live on Telegram? As you mentioned, that is the first place that he will be released.
So it's hard for me to put a specific date on it, but at this point, after the show, I'm going to go ahead and take live questions in the Telegram channel, pass them to my local system, and sort of have Agent Hustle engage a little bit with Telegram, just to illustrate sort of how close we are. And then it's kind of a matter of figuring out at what point he's good enough. Like, I've got this interesting thing. Like, if I bring him online now, he's not, it doesn't have all of the awareness that I've talked about, then people are going to be disappointed. So I'd say I'm about 2 days away. Really, it's at this point it's about standing it up and tuning it. And I just say over the next 2 days, next 3 days, I just expect to see more stuff coming online, more sort of like real time or assisted engagements like I'm doing now.
So you're saying Christmas may come early?
Yeah, my goal is to definitely have him online engaging before Christmas or on Christmas.
Amazing. I did pin to the top right now, Agent Hustle. So everyone who's interested, please follow the Tensorium account as well as Shannon, who's consistently posting about everything that's going on. And then in the pinned post, there's the Telegram. I do recommend for people to join the Telegram, as there's always ongoing discussion, and it's a really vibrant and authentic community. Really impressed with how the community's formed over the last month or so. I did look at November 24th is when the Tensor token was launched on Pump.Fun. So we're about, or Christmas Eve will be a month from that day. Shannon, I appreciate you for, having this conversation. I think this is actually the first time, right? We've worked together for 2 years, but I think this is the first time we've actually had you as a featured guest on our own show. So never thought it would actually be for an AI for the stuff. I always thought it'd be for the Emblem product, but the AI world is quite expansive. We believe, from the Emblem point of view, that we have a pretty big advantage in terms of what can be done in the broader scope of things. As we see most AI agents who are in the space, and this is no discredit to them, are coming from the agent space and are fairly new to crypto, where, you're coming from the other side where you've, been an on-chain developer for 12 years and also even longer kind of building these AI systems. And so we believe that gives an advantage. Would you like to have any final comments or anything you'd like to say before we wrap it up here?
No, I'd just like to, say, thanks for having me. And I'd also like to say thank you to everybody in the community that has been very patient. I know that's difficult. Your patience will not go unrewarded.
Love to hear that mic drop. Chris, any final things?
I just think it's crazy. I just looked at cookie.fun. Looks like there's 462 agents that are being tracked. 462 isn't an insane number. By this time next year, there's no way that there's not going to be hundreds of thousands, potentially maybe even 1 million. So, to be in like the very first cohort of actual agents is truly incredible. And, like you mentioned, some of them have social features, some of them might have some tech features, but everyone's kind of building in their own direction and at different kind of scales. And I think Hustle has a huge advantage from being able to integrate the Emblem technology and all the things that Shannon's working on. So this is a pretty cool moment. This is as early as you can possibly be. And so the things that are going to unfold over the next year are truly going to be mind-blowing. And I'm happy to be here.
We are so early, as the age-old adage of the crypto industry goes. Incredible time. Appreciate everyone who joined us on this call and conversation. There was a lot of people in and out, so very exciting. If you enjoyed the conversation, please follow the Emblem Vault account, right? This is the team that myself, Shannon, Chris, and Adam, everyone who's on stage, have been working on for many years. That's going to be supporting the technology. We host a show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Next week, we're not hosting a show. It's the holiday. So everyone really just have a great time with your family, whether you celebrate Christmas, Kwanzaa, or Hanukkah. Please really enjoy it. The Emblem team, we're always terminally online, so we'll be online, but there will be no shows next week because we're all going to be with our families, but we'll still be with everybody in the Telegram and online. Until then, everyone really, again, enjoy the holidays. Touch grass or touch some trees or whatever it is, right? Really spend some time with your family. And 2025 is going to be an incredible time for Tensorium, for Emblem, for all of us. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Let's go.